99.3 Nigeria Info Lagos. Good morning to you. Welcome to Dailies today. That we're live from our studios on Etimi and Crescent, Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Sheriff Quadry.
I'm Jimi. Disu. Good morning.
You can watch us on Facebook and on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can watch on Facebook and on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3. Let's start with the Vanguard newspaper. Page 14 is where we are starting from. INEC, Tinubu shops for Yakubu's replacement.
First of all, I'd like to give Vanguard very, very good credit for this explosive. Exclusive, we call them exclusives when a newspaper comes out with a story that's not making the rounds just yet. And it's a fantastic investigative story, and it's written by Jide Ajani. Jide Ajani will be my guest next week, Thursday, and we will look at this issue because it is extremely crucial. Indeed, after Jide Ajani has done his analysis, I'll probably be inclined to bring in 2-3 more people to talk about who would be suitable to take over the reins from Yakubu. I won't go into the full story just yet, and you can go read it up, but I'd like to give my views on this. Let's be very, very honest with ourselves, and let's be adults in the room. With the kind of presidency that we run, and I want you to listen properly, with the kind of presidency that we run, it is going to be extremely impossible for any leader, except you have the spirit, the kind of spirit that God put into Jonathan, to produce an INEC chairman that will not be loyal to him. We need to get that out of the way. We can talk all the, what you call the 220, we can talk from now to high heavens. A Nigerian politician, more so in the mold of these present ones, with the kind of victories we see at the court, we see people who've been governors without even campaigning or being involved in elections and so on and so forth. With what is going on in Nigeria, it is going to be extremely difficult that you would tell the Nigerian president to be involved in choosing somebody who would not make sure that he wins, or at the very least has some level of support for him. So let's be adults in the room and admit that. What I am told is that in boxing is decided, victory in boxing is decided either by points. That's one way, as you box along, you gather points and so on and so forth. But what we are told is that if you have a political opponent, because in boxing there's politics. If you have an opponent, it could be political in terms of race, believe you me, political in terms of color, believe you me, black and so on and so forth. The best thing to do is to knock them out. Therefore, if we know if some people see a need getting themselves together in forms of a political party or an alliance or whatever, they are going to have to work very, very hard. Very, very hard to win an election in this country. In fact, the way things are now is gotten even much more difficult. In a country where now we seem to get away with being brazen. We get away with being brazen. We now get a sense. We get a sense that those in power believe that they can get away with anything, and indeed it's turning out to be true. So I'd like us to prepare our minds on that. I will hold my gunfire until Thursday. Maybe by tomorrow other papers will latch on to Jide Ajani's story. I don't know. But when Jide is here, next week Thursday, we'll go into an in-depth analysis of this beautiful story that he has written. However, to whet your appetite, let me read some of the highlights. 1. intrigues as dark forces plot to truncate credible polls in 2027. And I ask you, since the June 12 saga, have we ever had credible polls across the board? The question is out there for you to answer. 2, why President Tinubu should be concerned about the credibility of polls. He brings that up in his analysis. The question I ask is, I don't know, is President Tinubu concerned about credible polls or is more concerned about victory? That is out for us to debate and to think of that. Does President Tinubu bother whether you think the polls are credible or not, or he just wants victory? Will he consider history, especially going for a second time, now that he stated this victory? Will he consider history to say that the kind of respect that is given to President Jonathan, because President Jonathan's profile went up, it shot up by the way he considered victory, such that his profile is much better than if he had done a second term, because that second term would have demystified him had he been stubborn about it. Would he think in that direction? Third issue here, Nigeria's history of encouraging electoral mafians by sidestepping the law. Always go to court. That's the language you will hear, go to court. And it's because, listen to what President Jonathan said. The way he said it in a casual manner, but it's stuck in my head. He said a judiciary that takes directives from an individual. That was very, very heavy. Very, very heavy. If the Nigerian state had been an enterprise, that would be enough reason to lock up the company and send the workers home. Where he hinted that you have a judiciary that takes directives from those outside it. Okay? How dependable institutional memory can deliver effective election management. The truth is this, no matter what you put in place, no matter all the laws and the guidelines and the beavers and all kinds of things, if you have a commission that has a briefing to deliver, they jolly well will do so, and the refrain at that point, as usual, will be go to court. Mm. And the result from the court is well known to you and I so far. Also, the challenge of rebuilding confidence in INEC. The confidence in any electoral process is weakening. And you find that the numbers are less. The numbers are less. The emergence of Peter Obi, whether you like it or not, brought a phenomenal rise in terms of interest, because people thought that, oh, this seems to be some kind of new order. But one of the failings of Peter Obi was that as he was developing himself, he wasn't developing others to go along with him. People of his kind who will take over both national assemblies. It's not enough for you to be president. If Peter Obi had gone on, had been able to convince the likes of Atedo Peter side, the likes of Patu Tommy and Conte, look, you guys, you go for the National Assembly while I go for the president. Mr. Falano, please, it's time for you to give back to your country in another manner. Showore, we know the way you feel. We need you in the Senate. If he had gone with a group of people like that, maybe the story would have been different. That is my belief. I mean, hey, I don't mind having an argument, and I'm ready to have a discussion with that, as long as nobody is abusing me. So, apart from that, we don't have, maybe the only apart from Humphrey Nwosu, who did a little to the left and a little to the right, maybe the only other person I can say I have confidence in, and I don't know where he is in this country, is a gentleman called Mikey Guinea. Would we, for example, if I were to shop, if I were going to shop for a replacement to Yakubu, whose tenure you don't even, I don't even want to, I don't want to take a suicide pill by upsetting myself and letting my BP go high. I'll be thinking of somebody in the mold of Mikey Guinea. I think this idea of using professors, sometimes I think the idea has been a bit misplaced. Because professors, in any case, in the first instance, don't have administrative skills. They're academics. And somebody who's going to hold an organization, an INEC, certainly must have very, very good organizational skills. And must be a person of proven integrity. Will we do that? Are we going to see somebody in the mold of Dr. Christopher Kolade as INEC chairman? These and other things we will discuss with the writer of this story, Jide Adani, next week Thursday. I don't think you want to miss that. And I'm going to say that if it extends, we will just say maybe it will be Thursday, Friday. Okay? That's my take, like Pastor Ladipo will say, from Orile Gomo. That's my take on this one.
If we don't have the president nominating an individual for the post of INEC chairman, how else could we have gone about it?
Because the president will have to nominate the person who nominates.
So what's the alternative? What's the option?
Currently, there's no alternative, Sherry, because there is one thing we don't do. One, we haven't strengthened agencies to the point that a man cannot lose his job for doing his job. Two, we haven't imbibed the culture. These are two basic things, minus all the other legal things you might want to do. Two, we haven't planted a history of making people accountable, punishable, no matter how long, for the things they have done. If we had a system that could call in the INEC chairman who was there 20 years ago, let's say he favored the government at that time, and the Femi Falana can apply to the court to prosecute an INEC chairman of 20 years ago, and we are sure we have a judiciary that will be fair, that will put him on that trial, maybe we might have a different situation. But I saw the pictures as, we want a national conference. How are you going to determine who's going to attend the national conference? If you want to vote for them, you are going to run into the same problem that you have with the politicians that you have now. If you want to appoint them, it's the president. I remember the national conference that senior advocate of Nigeria, Michael Zekome, said it was President Jonathan that told him go and join them. Okay, go on. Thank God, I'm beginning to see that Jonathan, I don't think, had so much of a political ambition. I think his major problem, amongst other things, maybe his lack of being able to express himself properly, and in some ways, some organizational skills. But with the politicians that we have now, it's winner takes all. And I see a spirit of impunity in the air. And the spirit of non-resistance on behalf of our people. Though something insignificant that happened to the First Lady at the nursing school in Agbo should begin to open the eyes of our politicians. If you add that to the way Obi Ezekwesili treated that senator, though I don't support it, but if you look at it beyond protocol and look at it in practical terms, the kind of disdain that the public is beginning to have for the political class should enlighten them and open their eyes and let them determine the way forward in their political journey.
Let's move on to our next story, Lagos. If you're just joining us, you're welcome. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can watch on those two platforms. This story is on page 7 of Vanguard newspaper. Rivers sole administrator suspends political appointees.
And I'm wondering why. This man is like, I thought that he was there to stabilize mainly security. Why can't he work with the current commissioners? Is there something that I don't know that he knows? And in one sweep, you suspended all political appointees. Are you now going to appoint another set? By the time you get yourself organized to appoint another set of political appointees, half your tenure will be gone. Except somebody is going to be giving you a list. Somebody is going to be giving you a prepared list. And I think this thing doesn't look good at all. This sole administrator or whatever it is, it doesn't look good at all. What are you suspending? You have commissioners, let them do their jobs. Up till secretary to the government, all the structures you just want to throw out. And you supposedly, in fact, the Senate, in his wisdom, said or implied that you can spend less than 6 months just to stabilize the place. And the most important element of the administrator's appointment is security. Let the commissioners do their job. Now, except you tell me that maybe 6 months ago he had known he was going to be the sole administrator and he got himself prepared, or somebody is giving him a prepared list. And that adds another dimension to the story. But Governor Jiri says it's time for dialogue. Nadeco in the United States have called on the administrator to resign. Nadeco in the United States is important because I think the current president engineered the creation of that group. As administrator writes head of local governments and demands financial details, ex-local government chairman pays solidarity visit to Fubara, and Nelda Delta Group tasked Tinubu stakeholders on return to democracy. This idea of this administrator and suspending the governor, it doesn't look good. And with this new development, is now beginning to look more political than otherwise. So what happens when the governor comes back in 6 months? Or is the governor not coming back?
Maybe they know something we don't.
They know something we don't know. Then now, because the governor comes back, he reappoints his commissioners again. I don't know what's going on in this country. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. This is what Fela Kuti used to call government magic.
Is it possible that he actually needed to do this in order to properly bring stability?
Stability hasn't. What has it got to do with your commissioner for education?
Because they are part of the structure that is involved in the initial instability.
Sheriff, there's a political let's say it. There's a political undertone. When did he get to Rivers State that he will know who to appoint as commissioners now? He's not even from the state.
No, he's not.
It's like telling me to go and be a sole administrator in Ogun next door here. Do I know anybody? No. So how is he going to do that if somebody is not giving him a prepared list? That's my suspicion.
It's also possible that because he's a sole administrator, he could hire anybody from anywhere to work with him.
Maybe, but that's not a wise thing to do.
Right.
That's not a wise. You have commissioners, you have these people in place already, running their ministries. We didn't say there's anything wrong with the way they're administering. Are you telling me there's something we don't know? The Commissioner for Health should continue his job, report to you. For education, the same thing. For labor, for sports. And in one fell swoop, you wiped everybody out, and you've almost spent 1 month. So for 5 months, you want to appoint new people before they ever settle down into their functions. 6 months is up. I don't think that's the way to go. Unless, like I said, unless there is somebody who all this has been planned and he'll be given a list, announce this and announce that. The question you want to ask yourself is, if there is somebody behind all this, beyond what we see, who is that person?
Who is that person?
Who is that person? Who is going to guide him on those to appoint, when even I think the secretary to the government itself has been removed temporarily? So who is going to guide him? Have we seen a political coup? Is that what it is?
I don't know. Maybe not.
Ask you are more versed in these matters than I am. Well, explain to me, Lord.
That's not true.
No, my friend calls me. He says I'm always looking at what does he call me? He has a name for me. That you're always looking for something where there's no. But look at the logic. Does it make sense to you, Sheriff? Yeah, the reason for your appointment is political. There's a political impasse. And security. Focus on that. Use the people that you have. Anybody who doesn't fall in line, you get rid of them. But in one fell swoop, we've wiped them out. Is it an offense for them to be loyal to their boss? Are you there? Are you a party of those against the current guy that you want to wipe out his people? Because once you are appointed, if you are appointed a commissioner for information, for example, or commissioner for, you have now a statutory, you are a commissioner in the state to oversee the functions that you have to. I can understand maybe that of local government is political, but to wipe out all political appointees, I don't think so. But they say it suspends. Now, suspension in Nigeria probably has its own definition. Suspension could sometimes lead to expulsion. In fact, I want you to give me an example, 3 examples where somebody who has been suspended under this kind of political dispensation comes back to office. I want you to name 3.
I can't.
Yeah, okay. End of story.
I can't name one. Let alone 3.
It's 3 new. 3 or nothing.
Let's go to this story on page 31. Interesting piece, by the way. Yoruba monarchs to Obasanjo, stop disparaging our institution.
With due respect, because the Yoruba monarchs are complaining, with due respect, sir, utmost due respect, you have to handle these people with a bit of care. No, but with due respect, you need to talk to yourselves internally. You might have your beef with Obasanjo, but Obasanjo, as far as I'm concerned, hasn't said anything in this regard that people are not complaining about. Former President Obasanjo said that criminals, drug addicts, bandits, and kidnappers have taken over palaces in the traditional institution and has stirred the honestness between him and the traditional rulers. Yes, people of doubtful character are becoming obas. Not all. And the way the obas conduct themselves is anything but to put it in mild word, decent. Our obas have become socialites. We know what obas used to be. You can tell the story to the younger people. We know what obas used to be. Obas now are seen everywhere, with Rolls Royces, with protocol, with convoys, going to events, making all lot of noise. They are almost, now I don't mean all, but some of them are almost constituting a nuisance. And there's a need for Yoruba Obas to talk to themselves, or at least those who are appointing them. And so rather than see Obasanjo's outpost as an affront, if you have some personal things between you and Obasanjo, fair enough. But some of us are worried. Yeah, you have Obas who are supposed, whether you like it or not, as an Oba, you are in charge of our culture and religion. And where you have, for example, an Oba disparaging our traditional religions, how do you want us to feel? Where you have Obas with big chains and big this, making a garland out of money to spray musicians in public. Obas even eating. These are the things. All of you have moved away from the tradition. And the honest to God truth is that the manner in which the Obas themselves are emerging is questionable. We must stick to tradition. It's one of the problems we have in this country, Oba or no Oba, but generally, is that we seem to throw the baby away with the bathwater. India is where they are today because they stick to their traditions. China, the same thing. When you have an Oba building a mosque or a church or whatever, then, I'm sorry, you are not ready to be an Oba. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God what is God. Now, being an Oba now is more or less with police escort and many wives, and the whole thing needs a review. The Obas need to go back home, and the elders and sit back and tell themselves the truth. Otherwise, the institution of Obaship in the Southwest, I give a maximum of 20 years, will no longer be relevant to the people. They will no longer have that relevance, talk less of power to the people. We have to be very honest with ourselves. Obas were never seen in those days. When I say were never seen, sometimes you could go through a lifetime and not even see an Oba. Ask me, I wish I could get Chief Elebu Ibon. I hope he's Chief, but Elebu Ibon, some of those who are holding on to our history, to come here and tell you some home truths. I'm sorry, Kabiesis, you need to go back. You need to go back. You need to go back to the drawing board. And this is another story that is going to make me have some kind of discussion here at some point. The Olugbo says that politicians are worse. Yes, politicians are worse, but these same worse politicians produce most of you. And they produce people of their kind. Yes. It says that politicians are more of questionable character. Agreed. And you need to tell these politicians to stop producing people like them. And there's another one. Obasanjo sees himself as a perfect master. That's a political thing. He has no business with us here. Obasanjo's comments disappointing. Yes, they are disappointing. Oba Alabi says that they are disappointing, but they are the truth. They are the truth. Stop bringing our institution into disrepute. Ondo monarch's work. Yes, I agree, but Kabiesi, with due respect, you people too need to talk to yourselves to stop bringing us to. Are we happy seeing our Obas, Rolls Royce, women, and so on? Every function, even company functions, you see Obas there. End of year staff award, you see Obas go everywhere. So that's the truth, though. I don't know whether they'll add me to the list of, but that's the truth. And I predict that in 20 years' time, if care is not taken, they'll be wiped out of the social whatever. They'll just be seen as some of the social elites in the country, in the region.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, we have to go now. We must go now. Thank you, Lagos, for being a part of this show. Back at 9?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
With Ali Baba.
I was the Ali Baba, yes.
Right.
You remember?
Yeah, of course.
I'll see you at night with Ali Baba.
All right, then. Let's leave the room for Kofi to come in and wrap up on the morning crossfire. Then the JD is back at 9. Stay here on Nigeria Info Lagos. Good morning to you.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.